I got something going on with. All right. Good
Hello,
morning.
sir. Good morning. So, you know what page we're on in the book? We're on 130 on the PDF, Treatise on White Magic.
130 in the PDF, getting there. And then, yes, Rule 10, centers and energies, falls on, hang on.
Yeah, this is going to be great stuff here. I skimmed the first couple paragraphs of this, and it's we're getting into some really, really good stuff here. Not to say that the astral plane stuff that we were talking about isn't good.
Well, this still is in the astral plane section, but as we know, we have to be looking at all this at a higher level. So centers and energies and rays falls on page 281 in the blue book. That's where it begins. All right, I'll go ahead and get us started.
All right.
The centers, energies, and rays. There are two connections in which this Rule 10 can be studied, and thereby results of practical value can be achieved. We can study it from the standpoint of the work which the soul does in relation to its instrument, the human being, and we can also study it from the standpoint of organization work and of that form building which the disciple does in relation to his service for the hierarchy. Back of the outer form of human being, responsible for its creation, its maintenance, and its use, lies, we know, the soul. Back of all activity for the furthering of human evolution, as well as of other evolutionary processes, stands the hierarchy. Both represent centers of energy, both work under law creatively, both proceed from subjective activity to objective manifestation, and both are responsive, in the great sequence of graded lives, to vitalization and stimulation from higher centers of energy. Some of the factors that the disciple has to learn to recognize as his particular series of lives unfolds falls into two main groups, each of them bringing his form aspect under 7 types of energy or influences. There is the first group of forces which concerns purely the form side, that are the work of the outer builders and which are the predominant factors right up to the stage of the probationary path. These are the forces inherent in matter itself. They deal with the body nature and might be listed as follows. 1. Physical forces. These are due to the life of the cells which constitute the body. The cell life is responsive to the cell life of the environment. Never let it be forgotten that the occultist always sees the correlation between the factors in himself and the corresponding factors in his surroundings. We live in a world of forms. These forms are made up of lives, and these lives have their own emanatory and contributory influence. They fall in their turn into 3 main groups. Group A, those emanations, which issuing from the cells themselves and dependent upon their quality, produce a good or a bad effect, are coarsening or refining in their influence, and raise or lower the physical vibration of the united cell body. Thus, as we well know, the physical effect of a coarse, brutal, animal-natured man will be different to that of the refined, beautifying results of contact with an older soul, functioning in a body, cultured, clean, disciplined, and purified. Group B, those emanations of a purely physical kind, which are responsible for that chemical affinity between one animal body and another, which produces the coming together of the sexes. It is an aspect of animal magnetism and is the response of the cells to the call of other cells, acting under the law of attraction and repulsion. It is shared by man with the animals and is instinctive and free from all mental reactions. And main group 3, those forces or emanations, which are the response of the cells to harmonious rhythms and therefore dependent upon the cell having itself something of that to which it responds. These emanations are little understood as yet, but will increasingly come to the fore as the race progresses. This type of force is that mysterious something which enables the physical body to recognize as harmonious or congenial a physical surrounding or environment, for instance. It is that undefinable reaction which results in two human beings, apart from all sex attraction for people of the same sex, experience it with each other. Okay, let me read that again. It is that definable reaction which results in two human beings having a harmonious effect physically upon each other. And he notes in there, apart from all sex attraction for people of the same sex, experience from the same sex, experience it with each other. This is on the outer plane, the esoteric basis for all group relation, and it is the understanding of these emanations that enables the isolation and segregation of races to be carried forward under the great evolutionary plan. These three might be described as the quality of the cell forces operating entirely on the physical plane, which produce a peculiar type of physical body, the magnetic attraction between two physical bodies, and the racial types. These three factors guide the mana of the race as he builds a new race and impresses the outer builders with his ideas. They also guide a master of the wisdom as he builds his physical body at will for the carrying forward of his work in any time or place. These emanations should, in measure, be understood somewhat by all those engaged in forming organizations and groups for active service in the world. What, should the disciple ask himself, should be the vibratory quality of the cells of that body, of the individuals who compose it? What should be the quality of its attractive force and of the magnetic effect it is to have in the world? And what does the group possess through the medium of its corporate units, which will put it on rapport with other groups and so make it harmonious in its relation with them? These questions warrant careful attention and should be considered by all group builders. So that was the physical forces, the first of the forces inherent in matter itself. So they deal with the three nature and might be listed as follows. So now we're getting into the vital forces, the second. These are often regarded by the materialists as intangible and therefore not material at all. But the occultist regards the etheric medium as a form of aspect of matter and as relatively tangible as the outer objective form. To him, the ether of space, which term necessarily includes the etheric form of all bodies, the astral or emotional sentient body, and the mental body, constituted of mind stuff, are all of them material and are the substance of the form side of life. As the basis of correct understanding, it should be noted that the cell life to which we have above referred is coordinated, influenced and vitalized by the bloodstream, that intricate system which interpenetrates every part of the body, is responsible for its welfare and demonstrates in a manner not yet truly comprehended the fact that the blood is the life. The blood is an aspect of energy, as is the sap in the vegetable kingdom. The sympathetic nervous system, that marvelous apparatus of sensation, is closely related to the emotional or astral body. The contact is made via the solar plexus, just as the vitality governing the quality of the bloodstream makes its contact via the heart. And the heart is the center of physical plane existence. The cerebrospinal system works in close relation to the chitta or mind stuff. Therefore, we have the following to consider. We have one, cell life, which aligns with the bloodstream, the heart center, and the thymus gland. The second, the sensory life, which aligns with the sympathetic nervous system, the solar plexus center, and the pancreas. With third, the mental life, which aligns with the cerebrospinal system, the ajna center, and the pituitary body. And then we have the vital life, which aligns with the seven centers and the spleen. This, as you see, governs the manifestations of the quaternary. But there are other aspects of humanity which manifest through the objective form and which complete the entire man and make the seven of his manifold objective existence. And there's this fifth, self-conscious, aligning with the upper brain, the head center, and the pineal gland. 6 is self-expression, which aligns with the lower brain, the throat center, and the thyroid. And self-perpetuation, which aligns with the sex organs, the sacral center, and reproductive organs. And then self-assertion, which aligns with the entire man, It's the center of the base of the spine and is with the adrenals. You will notice that 8 factors are here enumerated. Those 8 that we just went through. And it is here that many of the schools go astray. The heading vital life is a comprehensive one, but it must be remembered that it relates entirely to the physical vitalization of man through the lowest aspect of the centers. This vital life of the universe of matter enters into the human organism through the spleen. The centers have 3 main functions. First, to vitalize the physical body. Second, to bring about the development of self-consciousness in man. Third, to transmit spiritual energy and sweep the entire man into a state of spiritual being. The vitality aspect is shared by man with the animals and with all created forms, and his capacity to move freely in a 3-dimensional world is the outstanding achievement of that aspect. The self-consciousness aspect is the prerogative of the human family. When man has evolved, when all parts of his nervous system, his endocrine system, and his centers are coordinated and working in harmonious rhythm, then the highest aspect, the spiritual, makes its presence felt. The spiritual energy, and not just the consciousness or sentient energy, pours through man, the instrument of divine life and the custodian of forces, to be held and used for the other and lower kingdoms in nature. The above enumeration might therefore be arranged in the following order. The table gives man as he is intended to be, and not as he now is in the course of his evolutionary progress. So the order goes: 1, self-assertion for full development, the coordinated quaternary, center of the base of the spine in the adrenals. Second is self-expression, or the creative work, which is the lower brain in the throat center, or the thyroid. Third is the self-conscious life, or the personality, which is held in the upper brain in the head center in the pineal gland. Fourth is self-perpetuation, housed in the sex organs, the sacral center, or the sex glands. Fifth is the mental life in the cerebrospinal system, or the ajna center in the pituitary gland. Sixth is the sensory life, the sympathetic nervous system, or the solar plexus in the pancreas. And seventh is the cell life, or the bloodstream, housed in the heart center, or the heart. The 8th point, the vital life, functioning through the 7 centers and a whole system of lesser chakras and the nadis, which underlie the nerves and are the cause of their existence at the centers of the glands, is the medium of many forces and energies, some purely physical, others related to the animal mundi, the world soul, and others unknown as yet, because they will only make their presence felt later in the evolutionary program. They will then express divinity, the energy of the Father, or the highest aspect. It should be noted that the above tabulation pictures the second ray unfoldment, and also that the self referred to is the self-realization of the spiritual man. The lowest aspect of the vital life of God is the perpetuation of the species, and this is the result of the livingness of the incarnated life. And the next is simply expressive of the stage when the I consciousness is dominant and has reached its consummation in the completed personality. Then comes the expression of the indwelling self, hidden by the personality, through its creative activity of a non-physical character. Finally, we have the assertion or full manifestation of the divine nature. This, curiously enough, can only occur when the lower spinal center is aroused, when the energy of the material nature is carried by an act of the will up into heaven, and when therefore the entire nature, material, sensitive or psychic, and the existence aspect are unified and realized. Meditate upon these words, for they connote the consummation as far as humanity is concerned.
Yeah, it sure does. That's pretty deep there. That last I always pick up that last paragraph says a lot.
Yeah.
mean, the rest of it brings it all together, but yeah, man, that is there's a lot going on here that we're not seeing. That's what it alludes to.
Right.
You know. What do you want me to pick up there?
No, I keep going. I'm good.
You did great going through that, all those charts, by the way. That could not have been all that easy.
Yeah. And I wonder if, well, folks reading in the blue book, I'm sure read over the charts so they can note where those charts were if they need to refer back to them. I'm not going to try to flip through the book to find them. So where did I leave off? I lost my space because I scrolled. Oh, the occult aphorism. Okay. The occult aphorism, to will, to know, to dare, and to be silent, has a special significance not hitherto revealed, and at which it is only possible for me to hint. Those of you who have the inner knowledge will comprehend at once. To will, these words relate to the ultimate achievement when, by an act of the combined will of the soul and of the lower man, unification and realization are brought about. It concerns the center at the base of the spine. To know, these words concern the ajna center, the center between the eyebrows. A hint lies in the words, let the mother know the father. It has relation to the marriage in the heavens. To dare, these words give the clue to the subordination of the personality and have a close connection with the solar plexus, the great clearinghouse of desire and of the astral forces, and also the main center of the transmutative work. And to be silent, the phrase relates to the transmutation of the lower creative energy into the higher creative life. The sacral center has to relapse into silence. It will be seen then that for the disciple, the following centers are of paramount importance. 1, the ajna center, through which the purified personality expresses itself. 2, the center at the base of the spine, which is the center through which complete and utter control and coordination is achieved through the arousing of the purifying agency of fire. 3, the sacral center, wherein the basic force of our particular solar system, the force of attraction of form to form, is transmuted, and the attractive force of the soul takes the place of the reproductive creative material activity. 4, the solar plexus center, which, situated in the center of the body and being the organ of the astral body and of the lower psychism, gathers together all lower forces and redirects them under the impulse of the soul to their higher repositories. I realize that the teaching given here is both deep and abstruse, but it is needed for the few, and their numbers will increase as time elapses. The complexity of the subject is also increased by the fact that each ray holds within its teaching a different approach and a different method for those souls who are found responsive to its peculiar impulse. I give here the 7 keys for each of the ray methods. These can be studied in relation to the above tabulations and in connection with the 4 words we have been considering. We must remember that to will is the prerogative of spirit, to know is the function of the soul, to dare is the duty of the personality, and to be silent is the ultimate dharma or destiny of the matter aspect of the animal nature and its interplay with the soul. The first ray, let the forces come together, let them mount to the high place, and from that lofty eminence, let the soul look out upon a world destroyed. Then let the word go forth. I still persist. Second ray, let all the life be drawn to the center and enter thus into the heart of love divine. Then, from that point of sentient life, let the soul realize the consciousness of God. Let the word go forth, reverberating through the silence. Naught is but me. Third ray, let the army of the Lord, responsive to the words, cease their activities. Let knowledge end in wisdom. Let the point vibrating become the point quiescent. and all lines gather into one. Let the soul realize the one is many, and let the word go forth in perfect understanding. I am the worker and the work, the one that is. Fourth ray. Let the outer glory pass away, and the beauty of the inner light reveal the one. Let dissonance give place to harmony, and from the center of the hidden light, let the soul speak. Let the word roll forth. Beauty and glory veil me not. I stand revealed. I am. Fifth ray. Let the three forms of energy electric pass upward to the place of power. Let the forces of the head and heart and all the nether aspects blend. Then let the soul look out upon an inner world of light divine. Let the word triumphant go forth. I mastered energy, for I am energy itself. The master and the mastered are but one. Sixth ray. Let all desire cease. Let aspiration end. The search is over. Let the soul realize that it has reached the goal. And from that gateway to eternal life and cosmic peace, let the word sound. I am the seeker and the sought. I rest. And seventh ray. Let the builders cease their work. The temple is completed. Let the soul enter into its heritage, and from the holy place command all work to end. Then, in the silent subsequent, let him chant forth the word. The creative work is over. I, the creator, am. Naught else remains but me. The vital forces, which are simply the passing through the outer sheath of the constantly moving ether of space, are of many kinds. One of the concepts lying back of the astrological theories is that the etheric body of any form constitutes part of the etheric body of the solar system, and is therefore the medium for the transmission of solar energies, planetary forces, and of extrasolar or cosmic impulses, esoterically called breaths. These forces and energies of the cosmic rays are constantly circulating and following definite paths through the ether of space in all parts, and are therefore constantly passing through the etheric bodies of every exoteric form. This is a basic truth and must be carefully borne in mind, for its implications are many and varied, but all lead back to the idea of unity and of the oneness of all manifestation, only to be known and realized on the subjective side. The second basic idea is that the response of the etheric vehicle of all forms and its capacity to appropriate, to utilize, and to transmit are dependent upon the condition of the centers, of the chakras, as they are called in the East. These include not only the well-known 7 major centers, but numbers of lesser vortices of force, as yet unnamed and unknown in the Occident. It is dependent also upon the quality of the etheric vehicle, upon its aliveness, and also upon the interlacing of network in which the centers have their place, and which in its entirety is called the web or the golden bowl. If this is clear of impediments and of sediment, and if its channels are not clogged, then the circulating rays, energies, and forces can find an easy medium and can circulate unimpeded throughout the entire body. They can then utilize those centers, which are responsive to their vibrations and can be passed on and through to other forms in other of the same kingdoms in nature. Here lies the secret of all scientific and occult healing. Healers are experimenting with the etheric body, and yet little real knowledge is theirs. They know little or nothing of the centers in their own body through which the magnetic or other currents must flow. They are unaware of the condition of the etheric centers of those they seek to heal, and of the nature of the forces they wish to employ. All they can do is to discipline their lives, and so control their appetites, and they build a clean body and provide clear channels for the passage of forces from and through themselves to others. The third concept to be noted is that forms are as yet primitively responsive to the forces which reach them from other forms on the planet, to the 7 basic types of energies emanating from the 7 planets, and also to the life-giving solar ray. All forms in all the 4 kingdoms respond to these many forces, to these 7 energies, and to the one ray. The human family are responsive also to other energies and to solar rays, all, however, colored by the force generated within the solar ring pass knot. You mind picking up here?
Sure.
Thanks.
The work of the occultist and of the aspirant is to arrive at an understanding of these forces and so learn their nature and their use, their potency and vibratory rate. He has also to learn to recognize their source and to be able to differentiate between forces, energies, and rays. For the beginner, a clear distinction can be made between forces and energies by appreciating the fact that personalities affect us through the forces emanating from their form aspect, but that these same personalities, purified and aligned, can be transmitters of the energies of the soul. Broadly speaking, the work of the human kingdom is to transmit energy to the lower kingdoms in nature, whilst the work of the hierarchy in its relation to the human kingdom is to transmit energies from the spiritual realm, from other planetary centers, and from the solar system. These energies, when stepped down for transmission, differentiate into forces. Students must not get confused by the complexity of the subject. They must learn certain large generalizations and remember that as the omniscience of the soul, how do you say that? Omniscience? How do you pronounce that?
I think you got it right.
Omniscience of the soul is tapped, the more detailed knowledge will gradually fall into place. The other types of energy which concern the first two main groups with which the aspirant has to deal are related entirely to the form side. The third and succeeding groups are 3, astral energy, the energy of the lower concrete mind, the chitta, the mind stuff. 5, the energy of the personality. 6, planetary energy. 7, solar energy or the life breath. And these can be subdivided as follows into 3, astral energy emanating from A man's own astral or sentient body. B, the human family as a whole. C, the astral plane in the large sense. And D, the heart of the sun. 4, they can be divided into mental energy emanating from A, the individual chitta or mind stuff. B, the mentality of the human family as a whole and the particular race to which a man belongs. C, the mental plane as a whole, and D, the universal mind. 5, personality energy emanating from the coordinated form of man. B, advanced groups, advanced human beings who are dominant personalities. C, other groups, including 1, the hierarchy of the planet, which is subjective, and 2, the integrating group of mystics, which is objective. Be divided into 6, planetary energy emanating from the 7 planets. This is the basis of astrological practice. The moon, the earth and the moon. 7, the solar energy emanating from the physical sun. And B, the sun acting as a transmitter of cosmic rays. That requires another reading by each of us on our own time.
I think so.
And maybe more than, and I'm sure more than one, because there's a lot going on there, but it is broken up into 7. So it should be easily understandable, just like a phone number, right? It's something that we can grasp the 7 rays. If we can grasp the 7 rays, we can grasp the 7 levels of consciousness of the constitution of man and the solar system. So it should be relatively easy at some point to put these all together.
You want to get into the astral energy and fear today, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I'm not picking up on, I'm not seeing a distinct correlation between these 7 with the other 7s. So let me see here. When you were reading, you had 1 and 2, right? Because we picked up on 3. So what was 1 and 2 again?
Backtrack here a little
We
bit.
picked up with 3 astral energy, or the energy of the 4, the energy of the lower concrete mind. What were 1 and 2?
That's what I'm looking for.
Vital force. So lots of 7s here, but there was an 8 up at the top there. Yeah, I'm not seeing 1 and 2.
So vital forces, which are
So is it vital and etheric 1 and 2?
that I'm not sure of.
Yeah, it looks like vital and etheric. Because we just broke down, I think, what we were discussing up top into further understanding.
So it leads into that with the other types of energy which concern the first 2 main groups with which the aspirant has to deal are related entirely to the form side. The third and succeeding groups are, then it gets into astral energy. So I think it is referring to what we spoke about earlier, where it was focusing in on the forms. I'm just not sure where that started.
Oh, you know what?
I think is it the vital forces, and the second basic idea, the response to the etheric vehicle, all forms, capacity to appropriate utilize transmit. It's not really sure. No. Third concept is to be noted that forms are, as yet, primarily responsive to the forces which reach them.
I'm gonna have to read through that again. I know this may have something to do with the 7 subplanes of the astral plane.
Okay.
So it does fit in there. It's not. That's what I'm thinking. And it looks like it's from top. So because I can see it, but I can't fully. I'm not certain. it looks like it is. It's either from top to bottom or bottom to top. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, this is deep stuff, man. It really is very deep. And DK doesn't do things by mistake.
Right.
So for us, trying to figure it out, that makes sense for us. If we put it in, eventually, this will be assimilated as we build the bigger picture. But this is getting much deeper in the layers here.
Right.
In a sense. But yeah, so, astral energy and fear, my thought, Tom, is how long is this section?
See, well, in the PDF, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it's kind of long, about 10 pages in the PDF.
I want to say that that's a good video
by itself.
on its own.
I would agree. And it's clear that you and I need to get a little bit of clarity on what we just read here.
Well, certainly that's certainly.
I'm just wondering if there might be some light shed in Ray's at all about any of this. And we could also tap into some of our other resources we use as we study.
It always comes later. We absorb it, it gets assimilated. We understand it later on. These are not concepts that can be grasped like immediately.
Right. And well, DK even says it here. DK even says it right in the preceding paragraph here, where he says students must not get confused by the complexity of the subject. They must learn certain large generalizations and remember that as the omniscience of the soul is tapped, the more detailed knowledge will gradually fall into place. That's exactly what you just said a couple minutes ago. So I think
the student must not get confused on the complexity of the subject. Yeah, we would. The more detailed knowledge will gradually fall into place. But the other types of energy was concerned the first two main groups, which Espen has to deal. All right. They're related entirely to the form side. So we have to deal with the astral energy. We have to deal with, okay, so the etheric or the vital and etheric energy is not something entirely that we're dealing with on the form side. On the form side, we are dealing with the astral energy, the energy of the lower concrete mind, or the mind stuff, Chitta, the energy of our personalities, the planetary energy, and solar energy. And then they're broken down for us in what we're actually looking at here. So yes, I do want to say, and I don't want to say yes at all, but I do believe that these would be put into the subplanes of the astral plane, right? And
so I scrolled back to page 130 in the PDF, in the preceding paragraph where I was reading to physical. So there is first the group of forces which concerns purely the form side, that are the work of the outer builders and which are predominant factors right up to the stage of the probationary path. These are the forces inherent in matter itself. They deal with the body nature and might be listed as follows. And it leads with the physical forces 1, and it goes through that discussion, and then it gets into the vital forces 2. So that's all talking about form. And then I think like you, I don't want to speculate this is definitive. But then it's the third concept to be noted is that forms are in primary. So I think that's from a different partial. That's from a different section. I think from the form, because it says right here, the other types of energy which concern the first two main groups, which yes, deal entirely on the form side. So I think that's the physical and the, what did I say, vital forces. And then here he just gets into touching on the third and succeeding groups, but doesn't go into granular detail like he did with the first two form sections, which is all about astral energy, energy of the personality. Yeah, I think. But look, that's where he starts getting into more detail of these succeeding groups that you just named off. Once we start getting into astral energy and fear, I would assume that's going to help unravel some of this third group. So I think the first two, was the discussion of the physical and the vital forces. And now he's going to get into more detail about these succeeding groups as we move into the next sections.
You mean physical being etheric? Or
so we can go back. The physical forces, and this is back on page 130. Physical forces, these are due to the life of the cells which constitute the body. The cell life is responsive to the cell life of the environment. Never let it be forgotten that the occultist always sees the correlation between the factors in himself and the corresponding factors in his surroundings. We live in a world of forms. These forms are made up of lives, and these lives have their own emanatory and contributory influence. They fall in their turn into three main groups, and then he goes through the three main groups of the physical forces. And then after the physical forces gets into this second section, or the vital forces, and these are often regarded as the materialists as intangible. These are often regarded by the materialists as intangible and therefore not material at all, but the occultist regards the etheric medium as a form or aspect of matter and is relatively tangible as the outer objective form. And it goes into more detail about that, and that's where those tables that I read out were contained in that section. So I think those first two, the physical forces and vital forces, were the two leading into, now he's going to get into astral energy and the succeeding groups after that.
yeah, so we are stepping down these forces to the lower kingdoms. Yeah, so that's there is a lot there. That's something needs some serious contemplation. So, like he said, as long as we understand the generalization of it for now, then we'll inevitably get the deeper meaning. All color by force generated within the solar ring pass, not solar rays. Wow. Yeah, that's food for thought right there. I'm very much looking forward to getting into astral energy and fear, but I see the need to stop here and take a deeper look at this. And this will be good for the week.
And reflect on what we just read. Yeah.
Yeah, this will be good contemplations. You know, and it was really good to understand, you know, up top where these healers, you know, it's almost like a cheat code. If you can clear your body, provide a clear channel, you can heal.
Mhm.
Right? As even essentially not knowing the centers and their functions of yourself,
Right.
or now you can be much more detailed once you understand this, right? Once we grasp this and we can see it in ourselves, we'll be able to see where, those who were, attempting to heal, what type of help, it can be provided, and to what center it can be aimed. But he says all they can do is discipline their lives and so control their appetites that they build a clean body and provide clear channels for the passage of forces. But he doesn't say that that's wrong, or there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
And he doesn't say that it won't work, which is interesting, because we know that, as a man thinketh, so he is. Right. So if, we're working with healing energies, it's but all forms in all four kingdoms respond to these many forces, to these seven energies, and to the one ray. Yeah, for anybody listening, the etheric web or the golden bowl, they say it lies under our physical, and
Mhm.
it's one thread that connects the whole of our being. That is the scaffolding for this body, and not only just our, but all. So it leaves us, and it's routed through everyone. Right. So it's one thread, essentially. And the Antakarana, I think, and the Sutratma, and I think these things are all going to kind of come together at some point. I don't know how much work, Antakarana work we get into in this, but building the golden, or the Rainbow Bridge, but it's all one thing, right? It's all
Mhm.
connected, or it's all working through these. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
and he even
just sit here and contemplate for hours
he
on this.
he briefly touches on that, a lot of the oneness you were just talking about when you read back through his where he throws out some of the stuff on the seven rays, because everything in there essentially comes back to the one.
Well,
in
yeah, and it's
the way he phrases
interesting
all that.
because it's just, he even says in Rays that it's one event.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one happening. It's being created every, it's every instant. It's instantaneous. It's beyond that. It's just is, but it's all one happening. So we could wrap our heads around that.
Mm-hmm.
That truly all one. It's wild. I mean, but again, makes perfect sense. What else could it be? Nothing. It can have many appearances.
Right.
But we're stimulating those on the lower kingdoms. We're delivering these energies. We're spreading good cheer through our, But if one of those is out of whack, if we're not aligned properly, it appears that, it's going to come through pretty easily.
Yeah, and I
If
was just
one of
getting
these
ready. I was just getting ready to say that, this was all one. This was all one event. This was all one great happening. But, each of these micro components, i.e., you, me, everybody else out there, and even probably down to a smaller molecular level than that, is so critically important to this whole happening, right? So it's just worth pointing out there that, no matter how insignificant one might think that they are, or that what they're going after in their own kind of, and we've talked about this before, in their own, selfish desires or whatever it is, to attain, it all plays a role in this bigger one happening.
Certainly, yeah, but and the individual selfishness is a normal phase of that up until it's not, up until it's involutionary.
Right.
Right, it can be evolutionary. It is evolutionary right up until we should be beyond that point. And then it's just stagnant and kind of damaging in a sense, right? And then you're really hurting the things around you when we should be raising everything else up,
Right.
and you're really either keeping it down or pushing it further back. Yeah, so
Yeah, at some point those selfish desires have to be dissolved away.
I mean, you can see that in how he differentiates these. You can see and sense your own astral energy.
Mm-hmm.
You can sense your own lower concrete mind and the status of it. You can run a diagnostics test on yourself and contemplate your astral energy and the energy of your lower concrete mind. You can see your personality and you can witness these. You can witness that. You can absolutely have a sense for the planetary energy flowing through you, especially if we understand our astrology, which
Right.
allows us to know ourselves on a much deeper level. And then the solar energy, sure, man. That I would see as more of a broader a broader thing. I don't have a good word for how I would explain that our vibration, or I don't know, the life breath. I can't contemplate yet, my etheric body, even though I have an idea of how it is formulated or connect, the thread, and I can I don't know energetically how that looks. I haven't had the opportunity, to see that, or I can't see the centers and how they're function. But you can tell, probably we can contemplate our life or our vital life force by how much overall energy we have, and like how much is flowing through us. Our waking state or energetic state, I guess, potentially. Now that's all very, that probably is abstruse, as he puts it. And there's probably not good words to explain any of these things.
Right.
Because it's mind, in the mind, I guess. I don't know. But through witnessing these other things, I think we can tell where where we're functioning primarily, out of our centers.
Mhm.
So maybe you can get a feel for through that on a deeper level through the etheric. I don't, that's something that's above my pay grade for sure.
Right.
Because then you have, people that have etheric vision, the solar energies emanates from the physical sun acting as a transmitter of cosmic rays. And it being this time of year, December, how is all this affecting us now? And versus how when the cycle moves on and it's springtime.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, you want to leave it there, buddy?
Yeah, that's probably a
You
good
got
natural place to
frozen.
stop. We've got some contemplation to do. And then we can pick up and start diving into the detail on the.
It's so funny because he says, I realize the teaching given here is both deep and abstruse, and it's like we're going, this is deep and abstruse.
Well,
it is needed. It is
Yeah.
needed. But again, it does take time. So we have to take that time.
Absolutely.
All right, then.
All right, brother. Until next time.
Yeah, we'll get back on it again next week or as soon as possible.